Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Well, welcome back. I'm not going to waste a lot of time because we have Vince Lanci with us today. And, we had him on here before and we talked a lot about silver. We talked about commodities markets. So I want to be able to do that to start this off. And so hit the share button, do the things you're going to do. If you're watching us on the big screen TV, I just want you to know that, yes, I got a chance to golf again today and it was amazing. And, so had a lot of fun. Didn't shoot very well because it was colder than you know what down here in Texas, which is not normal. But let's not waste any time. We're going to bring Vince in, who, by the way, is an extraordinarily amazing person when it comes to what the markets are doing. I think that I've talked to you a little bit about him before. He's the founder and managing partner of Echobay Partners. He deploys battle-tested strategies in precious metals, energy, and global commodities. He's also the adjunct professor of finance at the University of Connecticut. And his expertise is amazing. If you're not actually signed up to get information from his newsletter on Substack, it's called GoldFix. Make sure you can go to vblgoldfix.substack.com. That's a Substack. And he's been a 30-year powerhouse in commodities. And I always love having a conversation with him. Not going to waste any more time. Vince, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Joe. Good to see you again.
Always good to have you on, brother. So what is silver doing right now?
Oh, let's not talk about silver. It's such a boring commodity. No, I'm kidding. It is the biggest. There's nothing else to talk about but silver right now. So, I mean, what can we talk? We can talk about the fact that there's not enough metal available, that the London Bullion Market Association is illiquid and possibly not solvent. We can talk about China and how they're pulling metal out of their vault and making it unavailable for people to buy or lease. We can talk about the United States increase in ETF buyers as American investors are finally waking up. We can talk about two major events, one which just happened on Black Friday. That was the CME shut down the exchange, ostensibly stated because of a power problem or a cooling problem in their servers. But underneath the surface, there was more going on, and it had to do with, I believe, although there's no legitimate proof of it yet, I believe that it had to do everything with silver. And finally, this is today, part of my work and a couple other smart people's work has uncovered what seems to be some dots that should be connected. And those dots are regarding China and their activity in the silver market in the US and how they may have actually spoofed it higher. Now, that's all the stuff that's happening right now. This is on top of the fact that the US just listed it as a critical mineral and silver blew through $50, went almost as high as $59, went over $59 in futures terms. And now there seems to be what I would call, and other people that I'm friends with would call, a metals war going on. We've gone from currency war to trade war to conflict minerals to precious metals as a battlefront. So we're in a metals war right now. So pick any of those you want to start with, and we can just talk about it.
Well, let's start with what I think is really important for people to understand, and that is when you're heading into what looks like, let's not call it kinetic. Let's not say that we're getting to the point where we have kinetic wars yet, but they did kill Charlie Kirk. They have done some pretty bad things with, shooting two of our armed forces, our National Guardsmen, and so there is some kinetic form that's taking place right now of the radicalized side of our society and the normal side of our society. So it'd be hard to ignore that. Now, with that said, commodities typically fare over the last 2,000 years. It's something you can hold on to. You can, bite it with your, and it's been a form of currency for thousands of years. And so it'd be hard to ignore that gold and silver are actually a really good investment right now.
Yes.
For anyone.
Yes. Should I comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Comment.
Well, your comment about the domestic problems, and I don't usually focus on domestic problems, but I will align with what you're saying, because there is a societal unraveling, or maybe we're too divided, and as a result of that, there's going to be an increase in distrust, and when people have less trust for each other, they're more interested and more apt to trust things that they can see and put their hands on. So if everybody was, just to use a religious parallel, everyone's going to become a doubting Thomas. Everyone's going to need to see it to believe it. And I'm not going to trust you with with a promise of silver that you owe me. I'm not going to trust you with a promise of money that you owe me. I'm going to do business with people that I can see and touch as the world is getting more local. And that means like-minded as well. Now, when you take what's going on domestically, sociologically or societally, there is that's what's going on internationally. People aren't getting along domestically. There are radical forces that are growing in, I don't know if they're growing in stature, but they're certainly growing in boldness. And internationally, you have, again, like you said, not a kinetic war, but we have everything but a kinetic war, I think, going on with China now, and to a similar extent, Russia. And for that reason, well, I don't think gold and silver just have to go up, because there's a shortage of collateral, and the societal pressures that are causing the mistrust are causing a need to have a more hard collateral based system for finance. And so that's it. I agree with you. Let's put it that way.
All right. So we see this kind of thing happening. There's this underbelly, and I think the underbelly, Vince, is pretty stark. First of all, the market has been super resilient as of late. Like, you haven't seen it. It wants to correct. You can see it wanting to correct, and in large part, it has corrected on some of what I call Class B or
right. Internally, there's things that are breaking, but not the whole thing. I agree.
And that's kind of left open this idea that the market is, look, you can look at the PE for Tesla. It just doesn't make sense that it's at $459. But if you look at the technology and the things they're building, it makes sense that it's at $459.
Right.
Right. But if you look at NVIDIA and you look at some of the other tech stocks that are tied to AI, that is a dam that has got to burst, because we haven't even gotten to the part where the functionality of AI can meet the public, and it's almost like it's too early, right, to understand what the implications, how they're going to monetize it, and so on and so forth.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're in this conundrum where people are like, okay, well, stocks are going up 1%, 3%, 5%, 10% a day. Right. and then they retract by 20% over the next 60 days, and then they go up by 10%, 20%, 30%. So it's this yo-yo market. But the one thing that hasn't been yo-yo, that if you look at it, just, and you're putting a regression analysis on silver or gold, it has literally over the last, 5 years been almost straight up.
Well, yeah, it's outperformed everything. This year alone, silver's up 90%. This year, the last 12 months, I'm sorry, not this year, which is 11 months. In the last 12 months, silver has outperformed everything. It's up 90%, with gold over the last 12 months up 60%. And I know it's tempting. I'm not telling people to buy or not buy. I know it's tempting to say, oh, I missed the train. No, there are things going on in the world that say that, this train, so to speak, is really not even up to speed yet. And those things are the reaction of other nations to not trusting our debt anymore. And so, to give you an example with regards to silver, and I do want to talk about AI. You brought up an important point. With regards to silver, I'm not saying that I swear by this analysis, meaning that this metric, but people were talking frequently about gold making all-time highs, and gold made all-time highs recently, and then they talked about inflation-adjusted all-time highs, and we got that recently. Silver made a new all-time high above $50, and everybody was ecstatic, but silver hasn't made an inflation-adjusted all-time high. And its all-time high, which was struck back in 1980, roughly, January of 1980, was over $50. $50 in 1980 is $150 today. So silver is nowhere compared to where it was 50 years ago. But gold has completely eclipsed that high. So I would put it to you that if you look at things through an inflationary past versus present, that silver is still incredibly cheap. And the behavior of nations right now is telling me that it won't be cheap much longer, meaning over the next 2 years. It's going to be 3 digits at least. That's my opinion.
Well, my opinion, which still holds true, is I think it hits $200 an ounce.
Okay.
What do you think?
I could tell you. I mean, okay. And so that's not surprising. Like I'm looking at you going, yeah, okay. So what's the problem with that? If people are having a hard time wrapping their heads around it, I'll say 2 things. One, that's the bias of looking at it at a low price forever. People are, what's the expression about the elephant who's tied to a stake as a baby, and then he grows up, and then there's a little tiny rope there, but he never breaks free of it because of his own bias. Well, I think we have, as a society, been trained in a neo-Keynesian sort of way to think that silver is not that important when it is. Now, I'm not going to sell you on that concept, but I am going to say this. The second thing is just looking domestically. President Trump just listed silver as a critical mineral or critical metal. And if you were to just do a simple, to your $200 point, if you were to just do a simple 5-year analysis of the last 2 assets that were declared critical, those being uranium and why am I spacing? What's the other one? Lithium, right? Those 2 assets, when they were deemed critical, increased by 300% in 5 years. And that's not a random correlation. That's a fact that when you list a mineral as critical, you free up the government's balance sheet to spend money to buy it, to subsidize companies to buy it. Basically, your inflation is being done on both sides. Yes, 20 years from now, we're going to have a lot more silver being pulled out of the ground. If we have any, that's another conversation. But between now and then, we have to buy it. We have to go to Mexico and beg for more silver. We have to, I'm not being dramatic about this. China has locked up relationships with other nations that produce silver, and they're buying it before it hits the market. They're buying silver in the dirt, so to speak. They're buying what's called concentrate. And the U.S. has let its supply chains lag for years. And as a result of that, we have to rebuild them, and you have to spend money to do that, and you have to make it a critical mineral. So over the next 5 years, my first target is $144. But I'm longer term. I'm saying 5 years. If it were to go to $144 tomorrow, I would be surprised. But if it were to go to $67 tomorrow, I would not be surprised. So that's where I am. So your $200 mark is not crazy at all. At all. It's completely rational.
Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the market.
Sure.
Do you have any nuggets that you can say? But you have to give everyone a disclaimer. But any other nuggets or things that they should be looking at to buy right now?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'd like to. That's so funny. I'm not going. I'm not going to give like individual advice on what to do. But there are some things. There are some things I'm looking at, and some things that should be looked at. First, with regards to AI, I want to circle back to that. Because you brought up a good point there. The promise of AI, again, how you look at the valuations, that's the math. But the promise of AI is to make us more productive. And there really is we haven't just like pets.com during the dot-com era. During the dot-com era, and hopefully some of your people are close to as old as me so they remember it. During the dot-com era, the reason things got so blown up is because people were putting up .com websites and saying, give me your email address. And they were proving to investors, I have a lot of email addresses, so therefore I'm very profitable. And they were just being given money hand over fist. And the point is, somebody realized that, hey, we're not making any money yet. We just have a big Rolodex. And everyone had the same email addresses. So it never worked out. And you had a collapse. And then after that, they figured out some applications for it. The same thing is happening with AI right now. There's a rush to build because President Trump has made it clear that we have to rebuild manufacturing. And part of that is marketing and salesmanship and the actual building of data centers. Now, there is no application, meaning we're collecting emails like during the .com era, and we have nothing to do with it. There's nobody out there saying, oh, AI is going to cure cancer. Now, that could be the next application. But the first application for AI will be to get people fired. Because the first application is, I'm not going to hire a kid out of college. I'm just going to use AI. I use it a lot for my research. And I could tell you.
And some of it's right and some of it's wrong, right? I mean,
that's the thing. There's good AI and there's bad AI. So if you're using it to search on Google, that's fine. But if you ask it an opinion, it'll be wrong. And then when you call it on being wrong, it'll say, you're absolutely right to call me on that. I mean, so you can't use it for anything except, some esoteric writing, like,
or math. You can use it on math because it is programmed accurately mathematically, right?
Yes. Right. I mean,
so
thank goodness.
Yeah. And I think that's just a function of the fact that you can't actually get away with programming machine learning in terms of it not being mathematically accurate. It just wouldn't work.
Right. I mean, but the thing is, but if there are, I've tested it, okay, to your point, and if you leave parentheses off, for like 2 times 5 plus 7, sometimes it'll give you the wrong answer. And here's what I figured out, Joe. Having gotten 2 different answers to the same writing question, I'm like, who invented the light bulb type of thing. I asked it, I'm like, why were you incorrect before? And I spent about a half hour figuring it out. And it's actually quite remarkable, and it's quite intuitive once you figure it out. The AI models that are out there at different times of day have different abilities. And they have different abilities because their computing is being saved or on low power. An example of this, I think most of us understand, is that when you're in a neighborhood and you're on the internet and everybody's at work, your internet goes faster. And when everybody's home from work at 6, your internet goes slower. There's traffic. And the traffic slows this thing down. And when it gets slowed down, Joe, it does shortcuts and it gets stuff wrong all the time. It actually admits it to me now. So it's garbage in, garbage out. Plus, on the back end, they have power constraints. And so they are throttling it to conserve energy, just like anything else you do.
Yeah. So it's what's interesting about, and I know we weren't going to have a conversation about maybe specifically about AI,
right?
But it's gripped everything, right? So now you're seeing that chatbots are infected with this AI. But I want everyone to understand that this type of AI has been around for 5, 6, 7 years, Like people are just hearing about it, but it was used to program bots on let's say the 30% or 40% of the accounts that engage with you on the social platform.
Right.
Those are all bots that are run the same way, chat bots, basically. They
Right.
find information, they have people that follow them, they try to look like they're intelligent, they'll respond like you respond to Grok. They're given a personality, but the things that you're seeing today, it's been around. They've been using this technology for the last 5-6 years,
Right.
and using interaction that you have with them in order to program them. Right. So this isn't new, even though they're trying to say it's new and that we're moving really fast. No, this has literally been what is programmed and created propaganda in the marketplace for the last say 6 or 7 years.
The marketing, the AI marketing, which is AI, is better than the AI itself right now. Yeah, the good stuff we don't see. I agree.
Yeah, and we were I was talking about this today because we're in the process of building this AI, and we're doing some pretty cool stuff with AI, and that some of the simple functions that we don't have available right now,
right?
They're not there. I mean, they haven't been released yet. In other words, they're there, but you're going to see this next second wave. But regardless of what AI is used for, I'm going to have a hard time believing that AI, I think you can still have to have one person. It can replace a team of people.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we're going to get to a place where the AI is going to put people out of work.
Oh, no, I think it already is. I think it already is. So we disagree with each other. But
tell me what you mean.
I'm sorry.
It's going to replace the people that need to be replaced.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But I'll tell you. Look, I'll tell you who it's replacing right now. And I want to be clear about something. The AI is not better than people. It's not better at doing it. That's why I say it's not innovative in terms of what it's doing. It's going to get people laid off, and it's going to be like, it'll be very similar to when we were kids. Customer service was a person, and then customer service became an operator that was centralized, and then that person became someone with an Indian accent or a Sri Lankan accent somewhere else, and it's outsourced. Now they're firing the Indian call center people and using AI. Now they've already been using electronic AI, but it's happening even more now. And what I mean by replacing people is, I'll tell you the types of people that are, this is like from a couple reports that I've been reading, and that are good reports. The people that are going to be let go or not rehired are going to be the white collar, bureaucratic back office workers whose work is pretty much, once you figure out the basic skill, it's replicable. In fact, it's like the white collar version of what they did in the 70s with assembly line workers. I put a screw in a windshield wiper. Well, they're going to get a robot on that, eventually. Now, are they going to fire me if I'm a bureaucrat or if I'm someone in a mid-office job who brings stuff back and forth to someone? No, they're not. They're going to let me retire. They're not going to give me a raise for 5 years. And every time someone does leave, you're going to have a robot replace it. Another example that I think we can understand is, I remember when I was a kid, the first ATMs came out, and I had an older cousin, and she worked in a bank. She was like a loan officer, and she was telling me what the future was. Really, really smart girl. Her name was Vivian, woman, I should say. And she said, right now, do you use an ATM? I said, yes. She goes, when do you use an ATM? I go, well, it's after 5. It's only available after 5 when the banks are open. She goes, well, it's going to be available before the banks close soon. And then when it's available before the banks close soon, it'll only be for the overflow. And then and eventually down the road, there won't be any bank tellers anymore. And we're seeing this happen right now in supermarkets where you're doing self-checkout. I mean, I can't get out of the supermarket now because my point is they will embrace the technology because it's cool, fire people because it saves them money, and not give a shit that the customer service is worse. That's why I think people want to get laid off. Because if we have a recession, they'll fire more people to put up electric barristers. I mean, not barristers, electric baristas in Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or wherever you go.
Well,
So,
they've already tried doing that though in airports, and they're having to pull that stuff out of airports. I mean, they have the thing where you order at a little kiosk.
yeah.
And I want to use it as an example because there is an adoption rate when it hits a tipping point where people say, okay, I'm going to do this.
Right.
But it doesn't
We're nowhere near
work.
that.
It doesn't work for restaurants for a couple reasons. One of which is, you know, let's hypothetically say I want to order a drink,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to order a drink and I want a Manhattan on the rock,
Right.
3 cherries, right? I give up drinking, but if I was drinking right now, that would be my drink, right?
Right.
And
Right.
oh, by the way, make sure that it has Angel's Envy or Buffalo Trace in there, right? So you have these
Right.
requirements, and you go in there, and the system says, well, you can have a Manhattan, and
Right.
it doesn't allow you to add for ice. And so there's this huge curve where people want to feel like they can be heard. Right? People
Yeah.
are already at the place where they're not being heard.
Mhm.
So we have some fundamental problems when we talk about AI and the limitations that it has for recognizing the need of the individual. Right.
Well, the adoption part, see, that's why I said mid office and back office, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, people have to individual attention. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of someone it's going to replace, like someone that we can. It's going to replace lawyers at financial firms that are needed to check documents to make sure that they're legally sound. And that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to replace the lawyer who works in a court and who has to face people. It's not going to replace the guy who's making your drink. I agree with you. They tried those kiosks and they were a disaster. It's a novelty and it was a disaster. But what's not a disaster is when you buy your iPhone from an Apple store guy, that's going to be a person. You won't be a kiosk. But the data that they put together of the 500 people that are collating data, that's gone. Accountants, back office accountants, people that don't see people are gone. So introverts are going to have a harder time getting to work. You're going to have to be a person who does FaceTime, literally, to keep your job. But I mean, I don't want to obsess about it. I think one of the most important things that you said was tipping points and adoptions. It's going to take a generation. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's going to happen. That's for the assembly line white collar worker. It's going to happen. That's what I think. Anyway.
Well, and I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I was just looking at some numbers related to AI and what it's replacing right now on the jobs boards that we look at on the tech side.
Uh-huh.
And it shows negative 16% right now. So 16% of the jobs that are out there.
Mhm.
I certainly know on the tech side that we're doing as much as we can to eliminate positions because, that the AI doesn't call in sick to work, right? I don't have to deal with people telling me that they're, oh, I'm tired or I don't want to work today. I don't feel,
Right.
I don't have to deal with the emotion, right?
Right.
And so even on the things that we're doing, I'm trying to use AI. I'm trying to replace people as quickly as I possibly can.
Right.
And
Right.
But still recognizing that I still want teams and I want to create a team, but the team has to be the team is tighter, right? It's just it's a tighter group of people.
Right.
So
Right.
what I did with 8 people, I can now do with 5 or 4.
Right. Right. Oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say, but I think I know this is a crazy thing to say, but I'm not the only one saying it. And someone who's very smart, a CIO at Bank of America, is implying it. AI is inflationary. Well, how could it be inflationary if people are getting fired? It's recessionary. Our productivity gets better, Vince. Well, here's the crazy thing, and it's happening right now, and your audience has to be seeing this. over the last couple of weeks, you started to see companies say that they're laying off 10,000 people. They're laying off 15,000 people. They're laying off 5,000 people. And those people that they're laying off are, I'm going to give you a little bit of conspiracy here. That's true. The people that are being laid off are corporations telling the government, if you do not subsidize us and pay us more money, then we're going to fire more people. You don't want the unemployment rate to go to 10%. You want it to stay where it is. So I'll give you an example of this that made sense. That actually happened. During COVID, there's a Starbucks in my neighborhood. And during COVID, there was no one working, but the Starbucks was open. And outside the Starbucks was a sign that said, we're hiring. This is in peak COVID. We're hiring.
Nobody wanted to work.
I'm sorry, what?
Nobody wanted to work.
Well, yeah, true, but they were all there. No, but I went in and I talked to the owner, right? I talked to the owner. I said, wait a minute, you're hiring? Are people quitting? He's like, no. There's in this little place, this right here, little place, they were fine, but they had like 3 employees, but they're hiring. And I said, well, why are you hiring? Is it because of the COVID and the mask thing? And he's like, no. He goes, it came down from whatever you call it, corporate, that we have to put up signs to hire now, and we have to show hiring because of government requests. That was the inside comment. The comment was, during COVID, we don't want people to, in industries, in industries, we don't want people to be unemployed. They may stay home, but we want them to be employed. It kind of blew me away, but what came out of the conversation was, talking to a couple of executives, was that companies will negotiate with the government by threatening to lay off people. So let's say you're the biggest employer in a state. Let's say you're the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 1950s. You're leaving Brooklyn. Well, what are you doing when you leave Brooklyn? Well, when you leave Brooklyn for LA, you're getting a lot of people unemployed. So the local government will do something to keep you there. And that's when Amazon says, I can lay off 10,000 people tomorrow. What they're saying is, I want a subsidy, I want a tax rebate, I want you to hook me up. And all these things are going to be very inflationary, because we're going to start to create a much bigger social safety net, or we're going to be giving companies money. I mean, it sounds a little bit out there in left field, but AI is inflationary, because we're going to lie and create more bullshit jobs. Otherwise, we have to pay companies more money. That's just, it's out there, but it's going to happen. I'm right about that.
All right. So let's hypothetically say that it ends up not going to. Guys, I'm giving a bunch of messages that we're not on Facebook. We're not on all the channels. Can you make sure you check on that, please? And fix that. Yeah. So I think from my standpoint, and this is me in the tech business, like setting aside stuff that we do and just looking at it from a tech standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that we don't get to a place where the unemployment rate is at 10%. I don't think it's possible.
Well,
I'm doing more with less. And I know that every company out there, because of the number of restrictions on businesses and the cost of businesses, we're cutting any way we can. We're like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. It's not profitable enough for us. We'll just get rid of that part of our business. And more, we're seeing this part of our business become more focused on. And by the way, at the same time that's happening, tech is becoming more diluted. So you have this.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well, let's hypothetically say we're talking about tech for Google.
Right.
You have Google, Bing, pre-search,
right.
AOL. I mean, you have 1,000 different ways that you can use search engines, right? AI, you got ChatGPT, you got Grok, you got
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of them, right?
Perplexity, Claude,
Perplexity.
all of them. Yeah.
So you have this dilution that's happening, and the dilutedness is people are now picking like football teams. So
they're already shopping.
Right. So it was Google was the big guy, right? 95% of the market. Well, Google's down to sub 70%.
Oh yeah.
Right. So so
Wow.
they're not a large portion of the search traffic that's out there. Now they'll tell you that a large portion of the search traffic out there because they buy secondary markets in order to make sure that their systems are being used for those search engines. Like that's basically the butter behind the bread of that particular search engine. Like Presearch uses a derivative of Google. Brave uses a derivative of Google. So they use those platforms, but they're actually, people are choosing something different than Google. Right. And so as we start seeing this dilution take hold, people are having to pick and choose where they actually put their message. I mean, look at CTV. There's how many channels are there on TV? Right.
Yeah. I don't even have a TV anymore, so I don't know.
You don't have a TV?
I don't have a TV. Nope.
So but you have YouTube TV, and then everyone wants a subscription, and you got Paramount trying to claw into their own dollars. And so rather than actually just being on a network where you're like, okay, here's your channel, you have an HBO channel on Comcast or DirecTV or Dish, that people are saying, you know what, I'm done with that. Just give me an app, put it on the App Store, and I'll promote my own App Store and get $6 per person per month for Paramount, right?
Right. And, so everything's itemized now, broken down. Yeah.
And so what it's doing is it's creating fatigue on the consumer, which means it's more difficult for you to reach the people you need to reach because there's too many opportunities out there, and everyone has your data while they're telling you that they're keeping your data private.
Right. That's funny.
So I'm trying to, I'm trying to spell the landscape for people. So the average person gets on the average 25 to 30 spam emails a day.
Oh, that's what you mean by dilution. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
So
the attention span of people are diluted.
Yeah. So you can't actually get them to focus on anything until they're finally at the final buy stage. Right. Which makes it more expensive. And so walled gardens like Facebook and Google, they're losing their allure. Nobody wants to spend $1,000 a day on Facebook in order to basically drive through and get a 3% click-through rate. Right. And so what's happening is that the spending habits of people in market are bringing less return because the Googles and the Facebooks of the world are getting greedy with what they're going to produce. They already know everyone that would buy your product, but they're only going to give you 1.5% of those people. Because if they give you all of those people, then your click-through rate, your cost to acquire a customer would be de minimis, right? It'd be very small. And then they wouldn't be able to pass around the 1% to 100 different people to do what you do in marketing. So I guess what I'm saying is that I see that, going to a 10% rate is almost impossible because the fail rate right now is just not there. Because everything is being inflated and people are basically dealing still in large digit losses. I mean, look, these companies are losing a lot of money. I mean, ChatGPT posted like a $1.7 billion loss.
Oh yeah.
Right? So, but it's worth.
Joe, they're already talking advertising. They're already saying they need to have advertising. They're already talking to advertisers in ChatGPT. So you're going to be like, hey, where do I, find a 12-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola? And it'll be like probably 3 stores. That it's going to happen. It's happening right now. It has to happen. Advertising will rule AI, and it'll just be just like search. It's a disaster. I agree with you.
And so the only way to break away from that is going to be to innovate away from those walled gardens.
Right.
And I think this is where the fear sets in. This is why you see this kind of grasping at straws with the technocracies, is because these companies are making billions of dollars, right? They're losing billions of dollars, but they have this investment in these billions of dollars. And now they're trying to basically capture all the LLMs, large language models, and say, okay, these are ours now. Nobody else can use them. Before it was like a free for all. Hey, use these. We'll give you an API. Now they're saying, okay, the API is going to cost you $10,000. It's going to cost you $20,000. Right. Because now they want to limit the ability for people to get that entrance ramp onto that AI platform. So we have some major problems that are coming down the pike where people are going to start rejecting AI based on the cost. They're going to start rejecting. Businesses are not going to put up with having to pay AI for advertising, right? They're not going to do it.
Right. So, but through all this, you don't think unemployment goes up to 10%?
I think it
You're
does.
thinking, you think it does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't think there's any way that it can't get to 10%.
Oh, no. I fine. I'm with
Perpetually.
Perpetually.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. There is an economic normalcy, if I may, that there are three legs to a stool that our economy sits on: GDP, unemployment, and inflation. And those three legs create the stool that our nation's economy sits on. Now, during the 90s, when everything was just so well balanced and Goldilocks and the O's, and even the early part of the some of the tens after we got through the great financial crisis, not really though. During that time frame, the normal balance or equilibrium for our economy was 2% inflation, 3% unemployment, and 3% GDP. Now, because of the fragmentation of the world, because of the de-dollarization of the world, to get 2% inflation, you need 10% unemployment. You have to fire people to get inflation down. So the three legs of the stool are screwed up now. They're really screwed up. So here we are with Powell.
Like bipolar.
I'm sorry, what?
They're like bipolar.
Right. They're horrible. Well, I mean, it's exactly like what used to be 3 and 2, 3% GDP, 3% unemployment, and 2% inflation is now 6, 5, 7. So the whole stool, the three legs that create a balanced economy are out of balance. So it's like, when I have too much of this and not enough of that. You can't fire people without destroying your GDP. And you can't keep them on jobs without making your inflation screwed up. We are in the anti-Goldilocks era now. And by the way, it's very similar to the 70s. People came back from Vietnam, throw a lot of money at them because, the social safety net grew. At the same time, everyone was working. And so the price of goods went up. We are in what I call an anti-Goldilocks environment where nothing is just right. It's horrible. And that's where we're going. AI is successful, that's going to happen because we will have too many people who need to get fired. AI is not successful, that'll happen because we're going to have inflation too high and GDP too low. It's bad. That's a really good point.
And the problem with AI is that once they make an algorithm change in the AI, okay, I want to use this as an example. Remember the Hunt brothers that when they tried to capture the silver market back in the 80s, was it the 80s or 70s?
79, 80. Yeah.
Yeah. So they tried to capture it and they almost did, right?
They actually, as a student of history, they did, and they got jammed by the government. But okay.
They got jammed by they changed the rules.
Yeah,
the government came in and changed the rules because they were like, oh, these guys are not, they had the market cornered.
Right.
They were literally,
I know.
It was, and then the government came in and did what? Destroyed them.
That's right.
Take a right-hand turn, boom, they're gone. And it was that quick. They as quick as they went up, they fell like a bottomless rock. I mean, it went straight. If there was a hole that went straight to China, they went all the way to China.
They changed the rules and buried them. That's exactly what happened.
All right. So, and most people don't understand what that means. Here's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, as I'm sitting here talking to you right now on this podcast, and everyone needs to understand it. AI is artificially inflating the cost of shares.
Oh yeah,
on the stock market, right? And which is why you were seeing is what I called sub B or subprime or whatever you want to call it, the rookie stocks, like not the blue chip stocks and everything else. You're
technology companies that aren't earning any money yet, right?
They're already correcting. I mean, look at DJT, right? Perfect example. It's $40, now it's $11, right? Public Square was $28. It's now $1.50. By the way, it's a great deal at $1.50. You're seeing this slide. I mean, Rumble, $7. It was 15. The market goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Frankly, I think it's a $3 stock, but I don't think they have anything great as far as technology. And all these companies are basically trying to mimic what's already in the marketplace, which is why they don't have any success. Right? There's no innovation to it. But you start to see this. And even if you look at like manufacturing and you look at all these different companies, all of those are on the slide. they're going to tweak. I'm going to tell you this what's going to happen. They're going to have a major sell off. The big companies are going to say, hey, look, we've wink, wink, eye, sell. They're going to change the algorithm, and the stocks are going to bottom out. It's going to be a bloodbath for the average everyday American.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying changing the rules for the Hunt brothers is the precursor to the type of thing that we would do now. Oh
yes.
Yeah. And I agree.
And you know that you can't have. I'll use as an example, like a stock that has 30 million shares. I just made that number up. Let's say it's only 30 million shares.
Right.
And in one day, 150 million shares change hands.
Yeah.
Right. You know for a fact that it's not real. Like you have this thing that's churning.
Right.
In order to create this kind of
the velocity, in this case, the volume of shares is mimicking something that looks like it's robust, when in reality, it's just a whirlwind with nothing in it. And if it stops, everything will fall.
Yes. It's like having water go through the water wheel, right? As soon as it stops, the water backs up. The void that you had is enough that it usually fractures, if not destroys,
right,
the momentum. And then when that momentum gets destroyed, it's just as the bottomless. It just nosedive, right?
Yeah, no, that's and to the point of the water wheel analogy, the water wheel's going, and let's say you use a gallon of water to do it. Well, let's say you start taking water out, and so but you have to turn the wheel faster to keep it going,
right?
And so that works. But then, to your point, when it stops, it can't restart because there's not enough water. And it starts going almost backwards, and that is the liquidity problem. We're creating liquidity, but not value. So we're spinning the wheel faster. The wheel spinning is actually us pretending it's more liquid. The actual water is the liquidity that's not there because there's no value being created right now. There's no meat on the bone, I guess is probably a better way to look at it. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I think it's bad.
So the takeaways from this is everyone should buy silver?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for oh yeah, I'm supposed to be giving you some companies there. Yeah, let me do that. Starting with the commodities and moving to regular companies. There are three things that I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at in precious metals. I'm looking at silver producers that are primary, but there's not a lot of them, so you can look them up yourself.
PAAS.
PAAS is the one that people talk about. And I'm looking to invest in a privately owned silver mint as well. But that's the idea. You want to see someone who does that. In terms of the commodity itself, we'll get into other regular stocks in a second. In terms of the commodity itself, I think, and it's just an opinion. It's not something you want to trade or do. But I'm long speculatively right now, looking for the market to, if it doesn't go below 54.5, it should go to 63.5 inside of 6 months, which could happen in 2 days or not happen at all. That's the precious metals thing right now. That's the short-term thing. The long-term thing in precious metals is I am looking to buy more physical gold and physical silver. Now, when you move over to the equity side, it's interesting because you're talking about AI the way you are, and AI itself is a problem. Like if you want to buy an AI stock, this is I'm parroting what other people have said that I agree with. AI companies are not going to do well going forward because, and this is my words describing what you're describing at the user side, their product is already a commodity. And because their product is already a commodity, they're eating each other's profit margins of competing. So you've got a lot of unicorns out there, wishful thinking, that are getting money thrown at them to build databases to do AI that aren't going to pay off. And those are the companies to not buy. The companies to buy are, and I don't have the list in front of me, but I mean, I put it out. You want to buy companies that benefit from AI, because what's going to happen is half of these AI companies are going to go out of business. The other half are going to be really cheap and companies that benefit from AI are going to get it cheap and then fire back office people. That's my opinion. Now, an example of an industry that's like that. I mean, I'm literally quoting Goldman Sachs here. You want to buy financial and insurance company industries that will benefit from firing people. And insurance companies have a lot of people to fire. And so they're saying the application of AI in these areas would be very good for cost reduction. Now, to get a little bit less esoteric and more practical, there are two industries I'm looking at that are both a buy, but one is a bigger buy than the other. A lot of people in my circle have been long miners, and miners are up over 100%, depending on what you look at for the year. So they've done phenomenally well, catching up to just be normal again. And I've talked to a lot of people about that and trying to talk them out of selling, but some of them want to sell. And this is what I've said to them, not recommending here. I've said to them, I said, probably the most undervalued sector, if you can hold it for 5 years, is energy right now. And carbon energy, meaning oil, producers that are vertically integrated, meaning they produce and they refine and they sell, they're really cheap and they're just starting to break out. And I say that because everyone's infatuated with nuclear right now for the right reason. But everyone thinks oil's going to zero. Well, and that's bad for oil companies. It's not. It's these oil companies like Exxon. I'm not using them as an example, but they don't just produce the oil; they refine it and they sell it. And I think energy is now entering an area where miners were 2 years ago. So if I wanted to be long commodities and I have money in miners, I'd be selling a portion of that and putting it into energy now. I'm a big fan of that idea, and I'm thinking about it. But I haven't decided which ones I'd like to do yet. But on a chart basis, you could just look at an ETF, an energy ETF, and step into that. But energy is undervalued. And here's the other reason. In this era, gold leads other commodities higher. And so other commodities are going to follow suit, especially with this metal war, especially with the critical minerals. So you want to own something that's going to benefit down the road. And right now,
I mean, these are signals, right? I mean, these are signals for people to follow. That are very, they call them shallow signals, but shallow signals that the people that know, but most people don't pay attention to those. And so you need to start paying attention to these signals.
Right. And I think a lot of people will tell you what they think, and I guess I'm one of them too. But I think if you're talking to someone who really understands what they're talking about, and they don't have an angle, they're not trying to pitch you some nonsense.
Right.
If you can find someone like that, and that person can help you differentiate between what is signal, which is what you're talking about, versus what is noise, and you're fine. You know what's noise right now? GDP is this, unemployment. No, it's all noise right now. It used to be, everybody sees that. It's crowded. What's not noise is understanding which industries are going to benefit going forward. And that would be, lithium miners, not lithium itself, silver miners. Silver actually will benefit because of for the change in stand, but not AI, companies that use AI. And oil's a big example of that, I think. So.
All right. Well, Vince, we're out of time with you today, but I'm going to have you back on because I want to be able to follow this. When we first started talking about silver was at, I think, $42, and it's now at 59. And we were both talking about the fact that it's going to the moon. I think it's still going to go to the moon. I think it's the $200. I think it's $200 by itself, just based on all the moves that the U.S. is making, other companies and countries are making. I mean, you have this entire shift towards silver that was concentrated on gold for a long time. So I think that's the next market that they're going to be looking at making more valuable. So,
well, if I can just add one thing to that, to your point, if I can. The BRICS countries are getting ready to launch stable coins that are tied to silver. And in doing that, you're going to have 1 billion Indians say, I think I'll buy one of those. So it's like taking a pack of cigarettes and dropping it in Lucy form in a nicotine meeting. I mean, there's not going to be any silver left for free investment if this keeps up. Silver is going to be monetized. That's next.
I look forward to it. Vince, how do people follow you? And
Okay, so yeah, it's GoldFix, VBL GoldFix. That's a Substack newsletter, or you can find me on social media, which is an acquired taste on X at VBL's Ghost. That's where I am there. So
All right.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me on,
All right.
Joe.
God bless you, brother. It's great to have you on, and we'll have you on again. And I always enjoy our conversations because I could probably talk to you for 3, 4, 5 hours and never get tired of it. Just because I think we
Be careful what you wish for.
yeah, absolutely. Vince, thanks for coming on. God bless you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Yeah. So I just want to say that Joe was right again. I was definitely right. We talked about what was happening in the marketplace. And it's always great to have Vince on because he's a wealth of knowledge. And, he's like the Bernie Madoff of the commodities market. He's done some really great things. If you follow GoldFix, you will not be disappointed. And you're likely to come up with some real big winners that might help you protect your investments. All right. So we have another guest that's coming in. And this gets back to the political side of things. Tina Peters. So Peter Ticktin is a longtime friend of President Trump, has been a longtime, very successful attorney, and is also Tina Peters' lead counsel. And there's a lot of things that have gone on with Tina Peters. We know we can go back to the trial and the fact that Matthew Barrett did some things that would be unconstitutional, considered unconstitutional. But more importantly, the amount of information that they were able to hide related to the fraud that exists. We saw what we saw with Emerald Robinson pushing the things out about what Patrick Byrne has done, spent over $30 million of his own money, $40 million of his own money, trying to save the country, get back to a place where we could have free, safe, and secure elections. Here we are almost a year into the presidency, and there's been a stall that happens typically because people inside of the administration are standing in the way of progress. It's no secret that I have supported Tina Peters for the last 4 years, making sure that she's not going to lose her house or lose anything around her. So that's the commitment that I made to Tina years ago. I've been able to honor that commitment. But in this, the legal expenses and the stuff that has happened up to this point has been, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So you can go to tinapeters.us. I want to make sure I don't miss that and give to the legal fund for Tina Peters. We are in the final round of getting her at least out of jail. So we're going to talk to Peter about that coming up next. So we're going to take a quick 1-minute commercial break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Peter Ticktin. We'll be right back. Hey, this is just in from Fidelity. Gold could hit $4,000 an ounce as the Federal Reserve cuts rates to cushion the U.S. economy. The dollar drops and the central bank keeps adding holdings. Gold has been on a record-breaking tear over the last few years, and it doesn't look to be slowing down in the years to come. Are your savings protected with precious metals like gold and silver? Are you waiting for gold and silver to shoot even higher in price? I want you to call my gold partner, Goldco, today and learn more about what precious metals can do for you. That's 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll get info on the #1 precious metal offer in the game, where you can get up to 10% back in bonus silver just for getting started. But supplies are limited, so don't put it off. Call my gold partner, Goldco, at 844-960-GOLD. or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-4653 or visit untamedgold.com. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
Well, welcome back. For many of you, we've talked a lot about Tina Peters on this show. We've talked about her pretty much every day. I talk about Dominion voting systems. I talk about the free and fair elections that we don't have. Frankly, it's gotten to the point where people are like, Joe, can you talk about something else? And the answer is no. We're not going to talk about anything else until we get Tina Peters out, until we have free and fair elections, until we get rid of machines, mail-in ballots, get to a place where you have an ID in person, and we have a road where the voice of the American people can be heard. Because right now what we have is kabuki theater across the entire country, and we have fraudulent elections at every level. But it's been going on for decades. So our guest that is joining us now doesn't really need an introduction. You've probably seen him in interviews before. Peter Ticktin, he's a lawyer for Tina Peters. He is a seasoned attorney and the founder of Ticktin Law Group based in Deerfield Beach and Orlando, Florida. He's serving as legal counsel for Tina Peters, and obviously you know a lot about Tina. He's renowned for his legal acumen. He graduated cum laude from the University of Miami School of Law, earning election into the Order of the Coif, which is and has been honored as the distinguished leader of the Daily Business Review for his work on high-profile cases, including a $30 billion settlement against big banks for robo-signing. He's gained national attention for advocating for the use of the U.S. military, specifically the 101st Airborne Division, to free Peters during an appearance on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast on November 25th, 2025. The fact that Peter stands as firmly as he does and is unapologetic is the thing that I think I admire most about him. He's taken a very bold stance on the legal strategy, and frankly, some of it's unchecked and or unchallenged. But really, we're just going to get to the place where we get Tina freed, and there's reason to have hope. So with that said, Peter, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Peter, you have shown a lack of patience for certain parts of the DOJ. I know that just a few weeks ago, you were talking about Todd Blanche standing in the way of getting Tina Peters out after a letter was issued. Is there anything that we know about the DOJ that you can speak to that would give us kind of some insight on what Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche are doing and why this isn't a high priority for them?
Oh, I don't think that it's not a high priority to them. Okay, first of all, you have 2 different individuals. Okay, Pam Bondi is not Todd Blanche, and Todd Blanche is not Pam Bondi. Generally speaking, the Attorney General acts as like the CEO of the Justice Department. And the Deputy Attorney General, the DAG, which is Todd Blanche, acts as more like the COO of the company, or
she gives the orders and he executes.
Yeah, it should be that way. Yeah. I don't think that that's the way it's working. I think there's something really going wrong with the way this whole thing is panning out. Okay, and it's all understandable. Now, look, a lot of what I do is I do deductive reasoning and come to certain conclusions because I have a lot of facts in my head. And there are certain things that are consistent with all those facts and certain things that are inconsistent. So you end up kind of knowing where the truth is. One fellow I talk to a lot is Michael Flynn, and we always come to the same conclusions as to what's going on. I get there by deductive reasoning, and he gets there by intelligence, by having information, plus deductive reasoning. But we kind of get to the same place every time. And I look at this general situation, and I see, first of all, we're not getting things accomplished. All right. We still have Tina Peters in prison, and that's been slow walked, but it is finally starting to get worked on at this point in time. I have reason to be hopeful. Secondly, the J6ers aren't getting anywhere here. These are decent human beings that were at a protest that were manipulated into a situation, a circumstance that was basically done by foreign interests more than anything. Most people don't realize that January 6th didn't happen spontaneously. January 6th was planned in advance by the left. I have, for 9 months, Donald Trump had me marshaling the evidence for January 6th. And so I have information that most people don't know and haven't seen, such as recordings or videotapes of Zoom meetings where hundreds of people met in advance of January 6th, planning to break the windows and to enter the building and so on. There's so much more about J6 than anybody realizes. What you were saying in your introduction I really appreciated it, because what you're saying is, no, this is what we're going to talk about until we get democracy back in this country. This is what we're going to talk about. And, some people may wonder, well, what are you talking about? We got Donald Trump elected. We must have democracy back in this country. But what they don't know, and what you may know, I have a feeling about what happened in terms of certain computers that were in a foreign country that got compromised due to some brave individuals. And more than that, I can't say, but I can tell you that there's a reason that Donald Trump is the president now, and that's because some of the steal got stopped. Okay, so
Peter, let's skip to that for a minute, because yes, I'm a system architect, so I understand how the systems work. I originally went on January 4th, 2021 to DC. I built a model. That model was used and given to John Eastman. He got up on the ellipsis, and actually I was well vetted by NSA guys and a bunch of other people on how they were going to steal the runoff election for the 2021 Senate race in Georgia. I was right to a eerie number telling them how the system works. So I didn't have any audit that I relied on. So I know that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So I know that they have the information related to how the election systems are used to defraud the American people, and the fact they've been used for decades. But
not
why
decades.
is it?
Not decades. I'm sorry to correct you, but the first election that was changed because of the machines was in Venezuela in August of 2004.
Right.
With Hugo Chavez, there was a recall, and he was going to lose. And they brought in these machines, and voila, he got 58% of the vote, and he was not recalled. He didn't lose his place. But I'm sorry, because I drifted from your question, and your question was about Todd Blanche and Pam
Bondi.
So I didn't actually answer that, but I'll be happy to in this way. The Department of Justice has 115,000 employees. It's about a third less than General Motors and a third more than Chrysler. Okay. So imagine if you know how to fix some brakes on a car, and you know how to basically change the oil, and all of a sudden you're the CEO of General Motors. You walk into your office and you say, oh my God, you got all these different divisions, you got all these things. Like the Department of Justice has literally 40 different agencies underneath it. So it's not just all of the United States attorneys that are in every single district of every state of every in the federal courts, and each one has its own United States attorney, and they could have as many as 300 assistant U.S. attorneys, depending on the office. it's not just that, it's also the FBI, uh, it's the DEA, it's the Bureau of Prisons, it's 40 agencies. So imagine walking into a situation like that, and what do you know? What does Pam Bondi know? What's her experience in running something like that, right? So, she had to say, "Oh my God, what do I do?" And along, Todd Blanche comes running to save the day. Don't you worry, dearie. I've got it for you. You don't have to bother your pretty little head about all these things because I'll run the company. I'll run everything. I'm like the COO. So you don't need to worry about those things. You just need to be there for
Mouthpiece.
photo ops and whenever you need to be with the president, just you can stay at your home in Florida and just take your jet and fly up to Washington. You'll you can have a, you need to figure out what's important, where this thing needs to go, where the ship should be steered. Those are the kinds of things that you're doing, and we'll take care of all these things for you. In fact, if you need a speech written, we could write that speech for you. We have speech writers that are on staff. Don't worry, you're the head of a big agency because I don't see her in the Department of Justice. I don't see her there uh, for her photo ops and so on. She's always at the White House for these things. And the scuttlebutt in the DOJ that I've heard from different lower level people is that she's not there. And that's why I say the scuttlebutt, because I'm not getting it from higher ups that know exactly where she is all the time. And I'm certainly not a fly on the wall there. So I can't tell you from personal experience, but I can tell you that this is what I understand, that she's not there. And why does she need to be there when Todd Blanche is handling the whole thing for her? So she's a good voice, when she needs to come out and make a speech and so on. There's a lot of people that tell me how good she is and how much they appreciate her. So, that has to be taken into account. But I think that she's basically been squeezed out of being in a position of any power by Todd Blanche, who seems to be running the whole agency with a little bit of an iron fist and getting nothing done. And
Well, you just said the iron fist and getting nothing done. I think those are two incompatible units and two incompatible paths. And you said,
well, no, you're not going to be doing that part. And no, we're not giving anything to the J6ers, and don't you dare argue with me. Is an iron fist in a sense, and at the same time getting nothing done. Interfering with being able to get evidence from some of the Venezuelans that had information about Dominion machines and so on. Look, he was a Democrat until January 4th, 2024. And his wife really wasn't registered as one thing or another. She was registered to vote, but she didn't put down a party affiliation until the same time. But nevertheless, when you're a Republican, you don't hang out with a bunch of Democrats, especially if you're politically inclined. To some of us, it doesn't make any difference who we're with because we're not politically involved.
right.
But to anybody who's looking at politics, who has any feelings about these things one way or the other, we travel like fish in schools of our own kind. And, if this man's been a Democrat all that time, it's not like he had an epiphany. He had an opportunity. That's why he changed. And the people and the crowds that he hung out with, did he divorce himself from all those people and he doesn't have any more friends in the world? Or did he keep his friends? And what does he say to his friends? Does he say, yeah, I'm really helping on the Trump agenda. I want to make sure things happen. Or does he say, go home and visit his friends and say, I'm doing a really good job keeping things at bay? I don't know. I don't know this man personally. As I said, I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know what his plans are. For all I know, he's going to come out with something that's going to blow our minds. We're going
Yeah,
to
but
see some great accomplishments. It's going to be getting all of Donald Trump's dreams answered. But I don't see it happening. It's been too long of a time. It's too slow if it is happening. And as far as I'm concerned, the likelihood is that he's a fox in the hen house.
Okay, so we know that. Well, I'm going to call him a Judas, right, or Brutus. You can pick either one. President Trump can be Julius Caesar, and he can be Brutus, or it can be, the President Trump is close to Jesus, and he can be a Judas. Right? You pick, right?
I don't want to call him that because I don't know, and that's just not fair. Because I'd rather talk with facts than with suppositions, and with things that I basically figured out, and I'm willing to share that in that light. But I don't want to put a name on him that may, somehow be unfair. He just may be a muddler. Maybe he's just not capable of doing the job. So
Well, okay, but then you have to go back in history and look at what he's done previously, and he's a pretty decisive individual. I mean, you look at the history of Todd Blanche. He's not been one that hasn't been able to execute quickly towards getting things done, especially if it's a policy that he supports.
I know. And when he defended Donald Trump on that 34 count indictment in New York, he did a terrible job. Not only that, but if you look at his interview that he had the day of the verdict with Caitlin, what's her last name? Cummins, or anyway, the one for
Caitlin
CNN.
Collins. Yeah.
Collins. I'm sorry, that's one, of course. Uh, he basically said that it wasn't really fair because the conduct occurred 7 or 8 years ago. Well, that's saying the conduct occurred. He's basically saying Donald Trump is guilty of these made up, instead of getting up there and saying the charges themselves are ridiculous. They were manufactured just for this purpose. They targeted Donald Trump, and with the rulings of the judge of, this jury then, found for him. Instead of that, he's basically saying the conduct had occurred. And then when asked if there's going to be a jail sentence, he says, well, if he's a 77-year-old first-time offender, so he calls him a first-time offender. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't know any other defense counsel that would ever do that upon a verdict of guilty. It was appalling. And then he also was asked if the judge was unfair, and he wouldn't say that the judge was unfair. He wouldn't even say, well, there were so many rulings that we had where we disagreed with the judge. Obviously, it was unfair. And it could have said anything, but instead he went along with the judge being relatively fair. So it's very hard to understand. I mean, look, if as that's what I do. I'm a trial lawyer. That's how I make my money. That's how I get off on life. That's what I do. And I can't imagine standing in front of a jury and telling them that my client is innocent, not guilty, if I don't believe it myself. Because how can you possibly seem sincere when you're the epitome of insincere? So it's no wonder the case had to be lost. He had a lawyer that didn't believe in him, but who had and that's Donald Trump's one weakness. Okay, I'd love to be able to say the man has no weaknesses at all. He's one of the most. I know him well. I went to school with him, as you know. We lived together in the barracks, and in our 17th year of life, in our senior year of high school. He's one of the most beautiful, most wonderful people I've ever known in my life. The number of times he exploded at somebody, smacked somebody, punched somebody, which captains are allowed to do, and he was a captain in our senior year. He would never do anything like that. He was a decent one. Having lived with him, I can tell you, he's one of the most decent people I know. But there's a thing that George Bernard Shaw said, which is that the punishment of a liar is not in the least that he cannot be believed, but rather that he cannot believe others. Because we all look through the world through our own prism, and we think other people think like we do. That the punishment of an honest man is that you do believe others, and that's the weakness that Donald Trump has. He believes other people sometimes when he shouldn't. And not if you're on the other side of a bargaining table or a negotiation, but when somebody seems to be there for you, especially the way a relationship grows when you're a defense counsel for somebody charged with criminal offenses, and you're trying that case, that's a very closeness that occurs. And so, that's where it came. And I don't think Donald Trump realizes that Todd Blanche did a terrible job.
So, I mean, he has to know now. I mean, you're his close friend. I assume
Oh,
you've had that
I've
conversation
let
where
him.
you've said,
I've let him know. But that's only me, and I'm not a fly on the wall. How do I know what's going on? So that's one of the reasons I went public. The reason I went public about the fact that Todd Blanche was a fox in the hen house was because I knew others were seeing the same thing that I was seeing, and they weren't coming forth and telling Donald Trump anything. I mean, because they were afraid. Uh, you know,
what would you be afraid of? Like I have sat in front of world leaders before. I mean, I sat in front of the guy that frankly everyone said was a terrorist, President al-Bashir. I broke bread with him. I drank tea with him. Sat in his little his compound, and I never felt like there was anything that I would say that I would be afraid to say. So, what leads people? And maybe this is a bigger question because people will, when they walk in my company, they're like, "Oh, Joe, I don't want to tell Joe. I don't want to tell Joe." So I do know that it exists, but the thing about good leaders like President Trump is that he wants to know. So all the things the reasons that would keep people from telling him the truth are the same reasons why he would need to know those things.
well, the
Right?
fear of the unknown is one of the largest
Fear of
fears.
loss. Fear of loss.
And so, you don't know. You're going up to a man, you're saying to him about someone that he must revere to some extent because he's made him the dag. And you say, this guy is no good, this guy is a traitor, this guy's this guy's that. You might just get a wrong reaction. You might just get the president saying, what do you know? In fact, I'm not firing him, I'm firing you. How dare you criticize this man? He's your superior, or he works in another agency where he's up there in that agency like you are in yours. I'm taking you down. Not that he would do that,
Yeah, but
but
the other part is that in his mind, and I know this for a fact, is that even you don't even know you. I have good people in my organization that people have come and attacked and come into my office and be like, Joe, you need to fire this person, da da da. And then I go spend time with that person and I walk through and I test that person and they pass every test. And then I come back and I'm like, what were you talking about? Like, why were you attacking that person for what they were doing? So there's two sides of this, or yin yang, where President Trump wants to get it right and he can go back and look at the history, but then people have their own aspirations. This is Washington after all. So people are natural liars or pursuers of power. And so I got to believe that he's kind of torn on both sides. The devil he knows is better than the devil he doesn't know, even though the devil that he knows is probably.
no. Devil that he knows will have him dead at the end of this. At the end of this, no, seriously, his life is on the line. Donald Trump isn't here just for a ride. When he says, I don't necessarily agree with him when he says, I didn't need to do this. Maybe at first he didn't need to step up and do it, but once he was there and once this all developed, he's in danger. And if we don't succeed, he's not going to be with us. Neither will I, and neither will probably you.
And neither will
Okay.
his family. I mean, and I do
And neither
believe that a
will his
large.
family. No, he needs to succeed. So he can't allow somebody in Todd Blanche's position to remain in that position. At the same time, who knows what's going on in Donald Trump's mind? This man is deliberate. He ruminates. He does things right. I mean, this man can fix things that are broken. He can fix the world. This is one of the most amazing men in the world. So why should we pretend that we know how to think like he knows how to think and take into consideration? He knows now about Todd Blanche. He has to. I know he does.
Okay, so
So
let's
we have to leave it to him and his judgment for the right timing and the right actions to take.
so let's say that there is this thing called paralysis analysis, right? Where even President Trump could be sitting in the forest of trees and not be able to see the forest through the trees, right? So and I think in large part I've been very, very, very careful not to criticize President Trump, but also say, hey, I don't agree with that particular decision. Like I wouldn't have done that, right?
Right.
And I think that's a more constructive way for you to approach President Trump because frankly he's got more skin in the game than everybody else.
Right. And frankly, he wouldn't want you silenced.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know the man, and I can tell you, he doesn't work that way. He doesn't want to have no dissent around him. In fact, he values it.
Well, so that leads me down. I mean, you brought up the J6ers, and I want to get back to Tina, but I want to talk about the J6ers. I'm really upset over the fact that people were able to influence him not to do a blanket pardon across the board. That, and by the way, Todd Blanche was in the middle of all that as well.
Well, he did a pardon. In fact, I'm sure I was only one of a chorus of people saying the same thing. But it was important that his first day in office that he pardoned all the J6ers, and he did.
He
But
did
there
not,
was some
Peter.
that, well, there were some that were also charged with other things resulting from the fact that they were targeted as J6ers in the first place. So in other words, you're targeted as a J6, they come into your house, they bash in your door. 2 months before, you're sitting down with them and talking just turkey, telling them, of your minor involvement and how things were, and that you were really there trying to protect things, because that's what a lot of the J6ers were actually had in mind. And everything's great, and then 2 months later, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they smash in your door. They don't ring the bell or knock or try to have anything peaceful. They pull you out. It could be February and freezing. They pull you and your kids out of the house in your underwear, and you're standing outside freezing and afraid to move because they brought in 60 and more police with them. And you look at your children, and they're standing there with red dots all over their chests that are coming from the laser sights from their rifles and their guns, and you're thinking, oh my God, you're afraid to move. And that's just the beginning of the nightmare. That's day one of what happened to these people. And so, we can go there, but they were all pardoned.
But they weren't. Joe Biggs was not pardoned. He was given a commutation, and he was charged with sedition.
You're right. You're right. There were some.
Stuart Rhodes.
There were a few. I represent Stuart Rhodes.
But these are good men. These are good men that, frankly, have risen up and created a brotherhood of people to protect their communities, because it doesn't exist. And in the J6, they were in the middle of J6, and the commutation of their sentences, let them out of jail. But now they're living another prison sentence. And the fact that Joe Biggs can't get access to his retirement, he should. He served over 20 years, right? I mean, it has stripped them of their dignity. They can't get access to VA at all. The commutation stops them from being able to get a job. I mean, it's a separate prison sentence.
I can't agree more than you're right. And there are those that are the exceptions to it. I'm talking about the whole mass of the 1,600, basically, that were pardoned. But you're right, there are these exceptions, and I've been fighting for them as well. Dan Wilson is one of my clients. I was able to get that pardon for him, thank God. Even after I criticized Todd Blanche, and thank you, Todd Blanche, for doing the right thing and allowing that pardon to go through. No matter what I say about you negatively, I got to give you kudos for that one. Please continue and do this for other people that are suffering.
You brought up the fact that they haven't settled up the J6. I know that you're leading a charge also of getting them compensated for what they did to them over those 4 years. That can only be considered, terroristic activity against Americans that, frankly, some of them just walked on the lawn.
Right. And this is where, at one point the planning was going really well in terms of being able to get a system set up for these claims. Same as we had claims for against BP in the Gulf of America after the oil spill, when it was the Gulf of Mexico. The same as we have claims for people for September 11th. These people needed to be compensated. They need to be compensated, and that was all going fine. And then all of a sudden, I'm told no, that's not going to happen. And I could see the disappointment on the person who's telling me this. So I know it's not stemming from that person. There was some curiosity, some question like, who filled me in the Department of Justice so that I know about Todd Blanche? Well, nobody. The people that I talk to are, they know their place. They know what they're supposed to do and not do. Not only wouldn't they say anything out of line and start, doing what would be wrongful, I wouldn't want to hear it from them. But I could see it. I could figure it out. It was obvious. I didn't need somebody, explaining to me that there were no pardons since May, at the time that I spoke out. No, I mean, I didn't need anybody to say there was no plan, no pathway for the J6ers as long as there's, with the administration that's there. I didn't need somebody to tell me that it was Todd Blanche. And nobody did tell me that it was Todd Blanche, but who else could it be? Is it Pam Bondi? I don't think so. Is it the guy that was a Democrat recently for his whole life and now just changed parties? I can't help but believe that it was him. And then when I heard that things got frustrated, and I heard this from people outside of the department in terms of getting information in regard to the, getting interviews with the people from Venezuela regarding the Dominion machines, that I was told was because he blocked it, but that wasn't from anybody in the department that told me. So, you add all these things up, and what do I have? I got somebody that's not doing what Donald Trump wants to be
There
done.
has to be, what I do know about the DOJ, and it's obviously I'm not inside the DOJ, but I have friends that have been inside the DOJ, is that it is not a singular organism. In other words, it takes people downstream to do some blocking and tackling for him. So yeah, he can say that I want this not to get done, or he could just make it very difficult for people downstream, wink, wink, nod, nod. Let's not take care of these things, and let's see if we can stretch it out long enough that we can stall until we have the elections in 2026 and President Trump now loses his majority in the House and the Senate, let's say.
Right.
Right?
But there's a collection of people that are around Ed Martin. Ed Martin, I just can't tell you enough of what a decent man he
I
is.
love that guy.
I too. I do too. He's just a good 100% red-blooded American who loves President Trump, who understands that we're at war. And that's the way I put it. I don't know whether you do or see it the way I do, but believe me, we are at war. And he understands, he gets it, and he wants to fight this war, and it has people with him. I won't name the different people that are in his department that are with him, and they remain in that department unfunded, unadvanced, unable to do to do their mission. And that's what frustrates me the most, is that I see that Vance doesn't even need to do it. All he has to do is make sure that they have the resources that they need. And he's got a team of people that are just going to take off like a rocket. Instead, they're suppressed. And again, this isn't from them telling me that they were suppressed. I didn't need them to tell me that they're suppressed. I can see there's no results.
Peter, I live my life by the idea inside of the business world that I hire slowly and I fire fast. Right. So at the end of the day, Pam Bondi is still the CEO of the company. She's still the CEO of the DOJ, and Todd Blanche is basically operating as the operator or the
COO. Yeah.
Yeah. And that checks, right? That's a natural way that the organism operates. But there's only so much you can actually kick the can down the road, and you look at the scorecard as Pam Bondi and say, I look really bad to the American people.
We've got no time. Look, the way I look at it is this. We have a lot of really, really, really important things we got to get done. Okay? And we're going to get to Tina Peters, if you have time, I hope.
Yes.
That's one of those things. It's really, really, really important. Please, God, let her get out of prison. There's a lot of things that really make a difference, but they aren't pivotal. There's only one thing that's pivotal, okay, as to whether we keep America or we lose everything. And that's whether we have the computers in play in 2026 or not. Okay, that's it.
And the mail-in ballots.
It has to be paper ballots, and it has to be hand counted, and it has to be no mail.
And in person. Right.
In person, in one day, and a holiday. If the machines are in play, they will put enough senators in there and enough members of the House in there that there'll be impeachment after impeachment and there'll be removal. And wait, is this what you've been saying?
This is literally like a page out of my book, and everyone's on the comments are just blowing up like, Joe, you've been talking about this over and over and over again. But
well, this is true. This is absolutely the most important thing that we have to look at right now. We are, what are we, we're 6 months away from the first voting that's going to take place, and we haven't gotten there yet. It's being taken care of. I know that there's the right person in the right place. He's not under the DOJ, so he's able to move and to make things right. And I don't want to get into identifying him or pushing that.
I think I know who he is. But
you might, but it endangers him to do that. So let's just say that but even that's not happening fast enough. And this is it. This is the deciding factor of whether we win or whether we lose. This one thing.
And so I want to pivot on that just a little bit, because the question has come up over and over and over again. You got the most powerful man in the world. We obviously know why we're down in Venezuela. I don't need you to comment on that. I think it would be inappropriate for you to comment on that. But it is tied to what you said before, Hugo Chavez, Smartmatic, which is tied to Sequoia voting systems, which is tied to Dominion voting systems, which obviously is the epicenter of the fraud across our country. Now, the most powerful man in the country and the world, arguably the world, can, with the stroke of a pen, get large amounts of incredible things done. When President Trump makes a decision to change something, he goes in and decisively just changes it. And Tina Peters, 11 months later, is still in a Colorado prison. It makes it anemic that the most powerful man in the country can recognize the fraud that we have, and the fact that the mainstream media is an enigma to the truth. And yet we can't get a Gold Star mom out of a jail in Colorado.
A Gold Star mom, the person who is basically in prison because she took an image of the hard drive of one of the Dominion machines. Taking an image of a hard drive of a machine is a means of preserving evidence. It's a means of protecting the truth. It's not a lie. It's not fraud. It's not anything deceptive. It's not stealing the election. It's not doing anything wrong. It's maintaining the truth, the proof, the evidence. She's in prison for keeping and protecting the truth, while the people that were perpetrating the fraud, that need to destroy that evidence, are the ones that put her in prison.
And they work together. And we have the emails showing that they work together. We had the collusion, we have the conspiracy, and yet not one person's been elected or been arrested. And Tina Peters is still in jail. And Peter, I say it again because I think that's shared by everyone. Yep, it is. Look at the comments. You got the most powerful man in the country, and you said it on War Room. You think that they should just go in there and take her out. You said we're at war. Everyone recognizes we're at war. And fear of loss still grips the idea that we cannot take Tina Peters, who is not well, and just snatch her out of the jaws of these evil people.
Well, on this subject, let's just say there may be some things that are happening where you're going to have some different reports in the near future, but I'm not able to comment on that. I'm very optimistic that something is in the works.
Yeah, and look, I'm not attacking President Trump for the power he has or does not have, but the perception of the American people is that the things that were most important to them over the last 5 years, no machines, no mail-in ballots. We knew the fraud exists. We got beat up by the media. We've spent the last 5 years suffering right next door to President Trump. We've given of our honor, our fortune, our sacred honor, our fortune. We've given up everything, our life. We've been willing to say, okay, take us, right? Even Charlie Kirk was like, take us, take me. and he gave up his life for it. So we're
Yeah, he did.
for the things that we're literally facing right now, like the stuff that we're facing right now, we're ready. Like, put us in, coach. But those things have not moved even an inch. They haven't moved an inch. Like and the states are basically saying, hey, we're going to commit a coup. We're going to do whatever we want. We've already been put in positions of trust. The judiciary is doing the same thing. There's an active coup in this country, a sleeper cell that came alive in 2020. They had density. We can see it.
Yeah, when you were talking about decades, you were right. Okay, I'm sorry I disagreed in terms of the taking over the elections because I just happen to know that that date, but still, that's still a couple of decades. But they've gotten look at where we are. Okay, they got into our educational system. They've taken it over from kindergarten all the way through higher education. They've gotten into our hospitals, into our professions. They've taken over our media. They've taken over most of our social media. They've taken over the Catholic Church, for God's sakes. So we can see it. This cabal, this combination. Look how smart these people are. I mean, really. It's so much better than the old-fashioned kind of going to war. If there's a way of taking over your enemy from inside, it's so much smarter, so much better. And that's what they're doing. We are their enemy. They are trying to kill us. Okay? Just think in terms of fentanyl. What friend of the United States would have 100,000 people in the United States die every year? I mean, wow, what a plan. Over 10 years. That means 1 million of us.
1 million people die.
Okay, we lost 58,000 men and women in Vietnam. Okay, a whole long war that we're so upset about, and so here we've lost about 20 times that just in the last 10 years, and more than the 10 years before that. So how do we look at this and think that, oh well, it's okay? They're not attacking us. They're our friends. No, they're not. They unleashed the biological weapon on us, knowing very well that they did that. Now, we don't know, apparently. Nobody has been able to give me a definitive answer as to whether the virus was released intentionally or by accident. But it was being prepared to be released on purpose sometime in the future. And it just so happens it was released at a fortuitous time, if you want to look at it from the point of view of the Chinese and the World Health Organization and WEFROC, the World Economic Forum. And I put that together with BlackRock because, Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock and he's the head now of the World Economic Forum. And what are their plans for us? What are they planning on doing?
They've already signaled. Peter, they've already signaled. They've already said that they want to cut 90 to 95% of the world population.
I beg to differ with you again. I'm sorry, but my understanding is 15 out of 16.
Yeah, that's 95%.
What's that?
That's 95%.
Is that 95%? 15 out of 16? Look, if they're going to leave 500 million and there's 8 billion.
No, they want to take out a vast majority of the population around the world. They want to leave us with less than what did they say? Less than 200 million people.
No, that 500 million that's Bill Gates's number, and the Stones of Georgia and so on and so forth. That seems to be the number. Linus Pauling thought that the optimum population would be 1 billion, but they want half of that.
So can I focus in on a little bit of Tina real quick? Can we?
Yeah, please.
I mean, because I know that I voiced my frustration for a lot of people, and we're seeing the same things on the outside, and we're again, we can't be the smartest guys in the room that President Trump has that are advising him. But as I go through this, and I've got a lot of skin in the game, Peter. I mean, nobody was talking about Dominion before me. It was November 6th.
Your liberty is in question right now.
Well, I mean, yeah. They tried to kill my wife and kids. I live in a house with bulletproof glass and thermal cameras. I was the one that first got sued with President Trump. So I get all the stuff related to this. I've been called everything. I was the darling of the tech business tech world, and then I became the I don't know, the pariah of that world.
Well, this is the price you pay for vision. This is the price you pay for being able to see what the hell's going on around you and not being blind to it.
And I'm okay with it. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I don't care. But I know for a fact what we're dealing with. And I know for a fact that Tina Peters was not only, first of all, she was abused by people that were supposedly on our side that have largely abandoned her and taken meat off the bone that didn't belong to them through this process. And now she's in jail. And I feel like, man, it's just, she's 11 months in, she's 70 years old. There's,
No,
prison is not kind to 70. Yeah, she's just out over a year.
Yeah. So she's okay, and she's a compromised health. I mean, she had lung cancer, which gave her this persistent cough, which was more when she would be active than if she just stayed still. So she was able to sleep at night before she had that cancer. I mean, when she had the cancer before she had most of one of her lungs removed. But here she is, she's compromised. She only has one full lung and the other and a partial lung. And now she has that same cough.
She has the same cough.
And they give her, and they gave her X-rays, and and the doctor there didn't see anything in the X-ray, but it takes more than X-rays. The X-rays didn't detect it the first time, and so she needs a full CAT scan. She's in danger simply because of her health. But psychologically, when you're 70 years old, it's a lot harder. A year at 70 is like 3 years at 50.
Well, I mean, the average lifespan is for a woman is 76 years old. And if you're in prison, it's like years and dog years, right? 1 year is like 7 years. So
it's horrible.
In essence, 77 years old. She's outlived it. And and you have people on the left, including, Jared Polis, that are calling for her to serve out her sentence, which is a death sentence for a person, while they're letting people out on the street that do violent crimes so they can victimize our population again.
Okay, so when the truth comes out, when the world wakes up and we actually realize what everybody's been doing, that's been doing the wrongs that they've been doing, including people that happen to be a governor of a state or a judge in a court, and I'm telling you this, and I hope to God that this message gets through to some of these judges and some of these people. I'm not talking about the good, honest judges that are trying to do their best and they're kind of stuck in a certain situation because the law requires something. I'm talking about the judges that know damn well that they're acting in favor of a cabal. They're actually assisting and aiding people that are causing an insurrection in this country. And they need to meet justice sooner or later. So, and if I were them, I'd wake up sooner than later, because you know what? You're in trouble. I don't care if you're a prosecutor that insists on prosecuting people like you and Stephanie Lambert, or whether you're a Secretary of State that's involved in the election fraud, or whether you're a judge that tells a jury, when you have a J6 defendant in front of you, and in front of the jury, you say to that defendant, you are an insurrectionist. You are a traitor to this country. You are responsible for the deaths of police officers. And you say that in front of a jury, you know damn well that you're doing wrong. You know that you're doing something you should never do. It doesn't take a first-year law student. You don't even need to be a law student to know how wrong that is. And you have done it. And don't think that there are going to be no consequences for it, because I don't care if you're a judge. I don't care what you are. If you're a traitor to this country, you don't get excused because you have a black robe on or because you're a Secretary of a state someplace. You better wake up, because as Barack Obama or Barry Obama said, elections have their consequences. And right now, there's been a change, and that change is going to continue. So smarten up, at least stop the nonsense. I got a judge in Michigan in Stephanie Lambert's case where they're trying to Tina Peters her, okay, because she had experts inspect the tabulators, and what did the judge decide? She's charged with unduly possessing election equipment, and even though there's nothing in the law that says this, he says not having the permission of the Secretary of State to have the election equipment is to unduly possess it. He's making up the law.
That's not a law. I mean,
it's not a law.
But that's all they've been doing, Peter, and that's why I get to the place. And I said it yesterday. Why is the Insurrection Act not on the table? Why are we just not getting to the fact where we have military tribunals and 50,000 people that would get rounded up and we can just have a hanging party?
It's coming. It's coming with the evidence. It's coming with the proof.
We have had the proof for 4 years.
It's coming as it look. More and more people are turning. More and more the left are losing theirs. And I got to tell you, the numbers are way off from what people think. And you know how I know about the numbers? It's because of the one poll that was honest. Okay, look, after the election in November, beginning of November, we had a bit of time before January 20th, but nothing happened. Okay, Kamala disappeared to put her head under her pillow someplace and cry her nights away. And Biden was on the beach. Remember? Nobody was doing anything. Everything was dead. So nobody was getting persuaded to come over to the Republican side or getting to like Donald Trump. Nothing was changing. Then we had the inauguration that was very quiet, a private one because it was so cold we couldn't have it outside. And I thank God for that because I know they were gunning for him.
Yeah, they were, for sure.
Yeah. So nothing really much happened in the first 6 weeks of his administration that would have persuaded all kinds of lefties to get common sense in their head or accept Donald Trump as our leader. And he gave the State of the Union address, which to me, it's again, it's kind of like one of the haunting pictures in my head is Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech, and in a previous one, but this one was almost as bad with a whole crowd of Democrats that were in place. But after the speech, CNN and a bunch of other places did polls to see how the public reacted to his speech. CNN was the worst. They showed the worst result. That was 69% of the people they approved. That's the word they used. They approved of his speech. It went up to 76% with other polls. Well, let me tell you something. If you hate Donald Trump, you're not going to like his speech. There's no way you're going to say, yes, I approve that speech. So those are more like the real numbers. He probably has more like over 70% of the population that like him. In other words, we are the silent majority, and they are the very loud minority. And that's what we're facing, a very loud minority that has control of election machines. And
all right.
We're going to win this war.
Yeah. Look, I have first of all, we have God on our side. And frankly, the side of evil never wins in the end, right? We've already seen how that book ends. It never favors the evil. And I guess I pulled up a couch and I laid down, and you're going to have to charge me by the hour for being frustrated. But you're a lawyer, so charge me by the hour, same as a psychiatrist, same job. We're in this place right now where we recognize that there are people standing in the way of getting Tina out, of getting justice for people like Joe Biggs and what's wrong with me? Some of the other J6ers and or 3%ers, so on and so forth. What has to be done? What can the public do? Like what can we do? And I say we, meaning all of us, do, because President Trump has said it very clearly. Fight. We need you to fight. But the fight with the Republican Party is semi-anemic. Like it's a rudderless ship in many of the states. There's a lot of this kind of leftist meld that's gotten into standing as controlled opposition. So what can the people do? What can we do selectively in our position to make this better or to support President Trump?
Well, every state does have a Republican committee. Every state does have, a group. Maybe they're, they're screwed up in some way and they're not acting right and so on. But that's the avenue. Whether there's some knucklehead that's on top of it or some good person that's on top of it doesn't matter, because if you and others that are listening to me decide to get active and join these Republican committees, you're going to find that better people are going to be at the top, because things change. And all you need to do is get more and more people in. So that's your avenue. That's the place to go, because every election that's coming up. But I'm telling you, if we don't, and this isn't something you can do or not do. This is up to the president. He's the only one that can fix this. But he needs to come out with an order that declares an election emergency based on the fact that the voter rolls are corrupted and the voting machines are corrupting, or fundamentally crooked. Okay, however you want to say it. The voting machines will determine the outcome of the vote by whoever controls those machines. And that's not an election. So if we have that's why I keep coming back to this one pivotal issue. Everything else is important, but there's this one thing that's pivotal, because there's nothing we all going to be able to do. You can go out and, tickle every single possible Republican and get them into their cars and get them going on election day. It won't make any difference if machines run the outcome.
And here where I'm looking at the comments, people are like, "You're right, Joe. You're right." I've been saying nothing else matters. All the rest is symptoms of the problem. The problem is free and fair elections do not exist. Machines, mail-in ballots, clean up the voter rolls in person, have an ID, and make sure that that's how our election systems are run.
And you and I have never had a discussion about any of this before.
Ever. Yeah.
No, it's just that I'm in a position where I can see what's what. You get to see the evidence. Some of us are lucky and get to see the evidence. The rest of everyone who doesn't actually see the evidence is in a position where you have to believe either somebody on CNN or somebody like me or somebody like Joe.
So I need to say this to you because we're running out of time. And selfless plug a little bit on something that I think is important. We haven't had this conversation before. Last time you were on with David Clements, because I had to be out of town by the time you came on. But there's a guy in the middle. I wrote this entire model. I actually sent it to you, but it's I wrote this entire Substack. I put it on Substack. The left hates me because I am a system architect, and I was on that call with Eric Coomer. Hey, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. And that's how it all started for me. So it wasn't because I was a system architect. I was just trying to protect my community. So I came out on that November 6th, that Friday. The election hadn't been called yet, right? I wrote the model in January. Like, I've done stuff to say, hey, listen, I didn't just pick Eric Coomer out of a hat, but how are they ignoring him is beyond me. How we were sniffing around the edges, and the guy that literally was hired in April of 2005 with Sequoia Voting Systems, who has been identified by several of the Serbian whistleblowers. April of 2005, Sequoia Voting System, chief architect. Before that, he was just doing websites, and he was charged with crimes that could have put him in jail for 10 years for being a drug addict, a heroin addict, right?
Right. Yeah.
This guy has been there since day one. He has a doctorate thesis, Peter, that I have gone through extensively, pushed it up against AI, used math guys, gotten people involved to push to the PID controllers, and the fact that it mimics his dissertation, his doctorate dissertation from UC Berkeley, right? So all that, I can't be the smartest guy in the room. I put all this stuff, I hand it over. I'm like, here's, by the way, is the model for the election. Here's a bluff. I gave it to Bob Destro, who passed it up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much more can be said about a single person in the middle of this who was there for the last 16 years through all of it. We know Dominion is bad, and yet we fail to identify the actual people who were pulling the levers and were the cogs on the wheels during the entire transition.
No, Eric Coomer he belongs behind bars, and I think
But I'm
he's
the
on
only
his
one
way
every
there.
day thinking about it. I'm getting sued with President Trump's campaign, right? And I've been called, our own side,
No.
Peter, has come after
He's
me.
suing Patrick Byrne as well.
Yeah.
I'm representing Patrick Byrne in that case, so believe me, what you're saying is important to me. I mean, it's not falling on deaf ears. It's really important stuff.
I testified for 2 days in front of Mike Lindell's deal. I got beat up for 2 days. The media would not even talk about me. 5% of the media would actually talk about me. And a jury of blue hairs found not only that I was credible, but that I was not defamatory to Eric Coomer. And this, by the way, is with an en limine motion that was approved by the judge to say you're not allowed to talk about any of this information related to Eric Coomer, right? 2 days I got beat up, and yet I'm still the guy. And Patrick, by the way, is one of the most amazing men I've ever met. Patrick Byrne, I'm going to tell you right now, that man is solid, salt of the earth, one of the best men, one of the most courageous men in the middle of having all health issues that has stood up for this country and spent every dollar doing it.
I can't agree with you more. And if I find little things I can disagree with you about, it's my nature. I'm going to do it. but Patrick Byrne is exactly that. He's an American patriot. He deserves a Medal of Honor. I can't say enough about Patrick Byrne in terms of who and what he is. He has, expended everything he's got.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can't tell you how many millions of dollars that is. He's put everything, because you know what? He also knows that either we win this or we all go down. And the funny thing is about the population of America, for some reason, they're not afraid to death about all the stuff that's going on, And it reminds me of, I think it was a Jack Nicholson movie, which is Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. Okay, and because there's nothing worse than what would be coming down our way in the event that they win. It's not as though there's going to be respect for all of us and allowing us to continue to have our jobs and live in our homes and eat food. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be we're 4% of the population of the world, and yet we are 25% of the consumption of the world of finer things and 25% of the economy of the world. And if we go down, it's not as though that we're going to ever bring the rest of the world up because we're being attacked. It's that we just go down. And we go down fast, we go down hard, and we'll never stand up again. It'll be the 1,000 years of darkness that Ronald Reagan spoke of. So, and this is what we're on the precipice of. Except I believe we're going to win. I know we're going to win this thing. I really do. As much as I may tell you to be afraid and be very afraid, at the same time as I'm saying that, I know that under Donald Trump's leadership, and that's what it's going to take. There's no other way. There's nobody else. I mean, the fact that every time he's consistent and understands and speaks the way he does, he reassures me and reassures everyone else of our mentalities, because we see reality, that he still sees reality. It's so refreshing. It's so, thank God that he does. But we will have those military tribunals, and we will have these people that have been destroying America, that don't care about our country, that hate America, that are acting against America, that think that they can do it with impunity. They're starting to find out that they can't. They're starting to find out you can't have a whole bunch of people up in Minnesota that are doing something really wrong and illegal, stealing money out of the country, that they're going to be able to get away with it, because that's stopping. If that's stopping, what else is stopping? Perhaps judges who are in the courts that are finding against innocent people and putting innocent men and women in prison. Maybe that's going to stop too. It better.
I agree with you fully.
Yeah. And if I were you, Judge, I'd change right now.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, I frankly believe that these judges are sociopathic. So there's plenty of them. We've seen that pretty much, 194 different events that President Trump has been blocked by a judge that says that they have higher authority than the President of the United States.
Well, when you say sociopath, you're talking about somebody who has no feelings of empathy,
Yeah.
and that they're miswired.
Yes.
I think they're that perhaps, but there are also many of them that are just completely misguided, and they think that they're doing the right thing by being part of the cabal. They think by being part of the left, they're being really smart and good. But when you get those handcuffs on you, Judge, and I'm not going to enjoy that, and I'm not going to celebrate that. I'm not saying it's something I'm looking forward to. No, I don't. I don't hate you. No. But when you have those handcuffs and you're alone,
Yeah.
you're not going to be thinking the way you're thinking. You're going to be thinking, I should have fixed it. I should have done the right thing.
Yeah,
And now
I
you
totally
have the
agree with you.
chance to do that. You have the chance to stop doing what you've been doing. Please
Right.
do it.
Yeah, we know that we have the habeas corpus thing with Tina Peters. The judge said that they were going to rule imminently, and that was almost, I think, 7 weeks ago.
It scares me that he's taking so long. I had such faith in him. He seemed to be very, very concerned. He seemed to be very aware, very knowledgeable, very awake. Smart judge, no question about his intelligence. Sometimes people get to you, and the fact that this is taking so long, I'm not saying, Judge, that you're doing something wrong. I'm not saying that you're taking this much time because you're afraid to move forward, or because you don't know what to do politically, or because you've been threatened, or there's been implications of different things that would happen in your career going forward. I have no idea about any of these things. But I will tell you that the public is looking at these things, and they think that these things are happening. So for the sake of not even for the sake of doing things properly, but just the appearance of doing things properly, you need to get the decision done in terms of the writ of habeas corpus. And frankly, and we know that there's nothing that you can do or say other than that she should be released.
1,000%. Peter, I want to say something that I don't know if enough people have told you, but I want to say thank you for your service. You deserve the Medal of Honor, and
Thank you.
And I'm grateful for the sacrifice that you make, and that at this stage in your life where you could retire easily and just sail off into the sunset, that you have devoted these years of your life to serving others. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for Tina. She's a special friend for me, and I just want to say thank you, and thank you for serving the J6ers as well.
It's my pleasure, and from me to you, the same thing. Look, the fact of the matter is, if you see it and you realize what's going on, you don't really have a choice. You just have to do whatever you can do, and I'm in a position where I can do what I do, which is a lot more than many, but I'm blessed. I knew Donald Trump when we were children. That's not why he hired me, by the way, to be one of his lawyers. That was Alina Habba that found me and hired me. But there's a love. If you think about it, if you saw somebody you knew in high school that you really were close to, even if you have nothing in common to talk about, if you bumped into them and you said hello, there'd be a love there. And I have. I have that love for Donald Trump. That will never go away. He's just such a good person. As far as Tina Peters is concerned, I just want to say, as you said earlier, it's Tina Peters, TINAPETERS.US. Please, there's a place there to give money to her commissary, a place there to put money for her lawyers. Whichever you want, whatever you want to do, but please go there, and whatever contribution you make I know will be appreciated by the different charities involved.
Peter, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving me your time. I appreciate it.
It's truly my pleasure. It's really good to meet you, and kind of in person, where I get to see you and we get to talk. And
hopefully I get to see you in person.
We're gonna meet in person. We absolutely have to, because we have common interests going forward, and there's terrible litigation that's afoot.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you. Thanks for joining us.
God bless you too. Thank you.
truly one of my favorite people. I've watched his work for quite some time. And, if you get a chance, again, tinapeters.us, I want you to go over there, just give a few dollars and give a cup of coffee every month. I think it's the least that we can do to show our appreciation for the work that's been done. So go over there and do that for me. There's a few other things I want to go over, and I know we've gone over quite a bit today, and this is kind of the extra hours, I guess, for the things that we're talking about. It. Jeff put up Psalms 141:6. Yeah, that's true. Jeff, I just want to say that. Let me actually grab it for you so that I can put it up there. Oh, 141:2. Okay. Let my prayer be set before you as a license, the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Let my prayer be set before you as incense, the lifting of my hands as the evening sacrifice. We have to do the things that are necessary to protect Tina Peters, to protect the people that are actually fighting. I found what was interesting about this is that before Peter got on, I was like, listen, I'm going to ask you some uncomfortable questions. If you can't answer it, just say, hey, look, I really can't answer that question. But was really forthright with what we're talking about as it relates to Todd Blanche and some of the anonymity that we see at the DOJ. And yet he still feels like we're coming through it. And he has access to more information than we do. I got access to a lot of information. And yet I don't doubt what he's saying. At the same time, I want to show you that there's some parallels and there's some alignment as to what we see as necessary and important. And I think that they all know that the problem is free and fair elections. The symptoms of that are what we see with fentanyl overdoses, crime, and judges that are letting people out on the streets. All of that is a direct result of us not having the voice of the people actually heard. And that there's this drive towards a coup that is instability. That creates chaos. Chaos favors the op, never favors the people. It favors people like them in the CIA. And Peter said some things that I think you have to be willing to consider. And that is they want to hurt President Trump. Who is they? Who is they? And the they is a powerful part of this lobby that we have inside of our government, the bureaucracy, that basically is thirsting to retain power. And President Trump is slowly trying to pull it away from them, but at the same time recognizing that he's just trying to find a weak spot, pull it as far as he can, and then shoot the MOB, mother of all bombs, right into that area and to destroy this evil once and for all. Do I think that'll happen? Yes, I do. I do think it'll happen. So this is a little bit of the after show with me. I want to put this up here real quick. This is a post that was put up. It talks about Jenna Griswold. Jenna Griswold is going to go to jail. This is from Denver Fail. Just give you a little bit. I did follow you for this. Jenna Griswold is going down, Colorado. Sources claim Pam Bondi is going to indict Jenna Griswold under 18 USC 1519, a federal law that destroyed her hiding records to interfere with the U.S. government probe or process. Tina Peters will be taken into federal custody with full whistleblower protection. Griswold's team wiped the digital evidence clean. Second, they swapped out the hardware to make sure no one could dig into it. And third, they pinned it all on Tina Peters, turning her into the scapegoat. They destroyed the proof, replaced the props, and jail the whistleblower. Griswold office ordered the trust to build update in May of 2021, right after Peters raised red flags about 2020 glitches like unexplained vote surges in her county. It reset Dominion machines statewide, erased logs, security files, and audit trails. It could prove fraud or errors. Tina Peters' pre-wipe backup show what got deleted, vote adjudication records, and firmware histories. Penalty up to 20 years in prison plus fine. This will happen fast, but as the statute of limitations are up in May of 2026, is about to go down Colorado. The question is, who is Jenna going to take down with her? Jenna Griswold, you're going to go to prison. Jared Polis, you're going to go to prison. Phil Weiser, you're going to go to prison for the $15 million in bribes. Yeah, that's going to take you down and some of the judges, including some that are on the Supreme Court of Colorado today. I want you tried for treason. Let me just reiterate again what the crimes and what the penalty is for those crimes. The crime of treason, when you commit treason against the United States, and it doesn't matter if you did it in the state of Colorado to steal elections so that you could find your fat face in those particular positions, it's still treason. You created a coup against the American people, realigned yourself in a conspiracy with places like Oregon, California, Washington, New York, Michigan, Minnesota. You created a cartel of sorts where you could steal the American people's wages and use it for your own self-gain. Treason is punishable by up to and including death. Death by hanging, death by a firing squad. I don't care which way it happens, but you should not spend the rest of your life in prison. We should spend not $1 protecting you. You should be tried for treason, and when found guilty, you should hang by the neck until dead. That's what I believe. I believe that the left has gotten to the point where the Democrats have been left behind long ago. You don't speak for anyone except for yourselves. And frankly, the cartel that you guys have built will be destroyed. So Jenna, you're going to go to prison. Just a matter of how long. And I pray that as they start stacking things on top of you and it rises to the level where they charge you, Jenna, with treason, that you too get to sit on that plank. You're a disgusting individual. And Kyle Clark at the media, your days are numbered at 9 News. They're numbered. You know how I know that? Because you are trying really hard to make sure that this merger of this acquisition doesn't happen. Because you know that they don't want a radical leftist like you that serves Antifa and the killing of ordinary Americans, including Lee Keltner, which you and others inside of 9 News are responsible for. With Matt Doloff. Matt Doloff, where's he at these days? The unlicensed security guard that shot Lee Keltner, a hat maker, in the head, who attended, by the way, that protest. It was a right, you call it a right protest. You came there to do harm. You came there to find a victim, and you found one. And you killed him. You killed a good man. You all should pay. You all should pay. And I'm not even done yet with the defamation stuff. I am going to come after you, Kyle Clark. I am going to make sure that you pay. I am going to make sure that when everything gets done and the dust settles with the federal court, I'm coming to sue you for what you have done to me and my family, for sending your little goons out to my home, for doing the things that you and people like Ross Kaminsky, calling me a Nazi. I'm going to make sure you pay completely. Let's go to the next one, shall we? I want to just show you a few of the other things that we have going on related to all of this. But before I do, I'm going to tell you this. Steve Baker came out with all the information related to the the pipe bomber. He had it dead to rights. And do you know what they did? Do you know what the FBI did? You know, the FBI that's run by Kardashian Patel and Dan Pongino. They decided that they were going to manufacture a new arrest for someone that was not the Capitol police officer that went to go work for the CIA. So they went and found their little CIA minion that they could charge with a crime and say, oh no, it was a dude. So now there's a new person that was arrested for the J6 bomber. 98% probability that it was the woman that lived next door to where they were actually. This is why you can't believe the FBI. They're rotted to the core. The whole thing's rotted. The people that are in this, they're in this like little cabal of bad people. And it's not the left that we have to worry about. It's our own people. But let's go ahead and play this. They've now found the J6 bomber, pipe bomber. Let's go and play it.
there is a suspect that is in custody for the pipe bombs that were placed at the DNC and I think the RNC, both on January 6th, the night before January 6th. This is a photograph that they have here. Now, this is 5 years on.
Yeah.
So what do you think the break in the case might have been?
You know, it's really hard to say, but whatever it was, you're going to have these questions of why now? What's been going on for the last 5 years? Now, unless you have something where somebody came forward or something else broke and they got some evidence that they didn't have, you're going to say, were they pressing all along here? Why now? We both know this is going to be heavily politicized, right? Because it's on the eve of J6. Is it tied to J6, et cetera? The thing that I find interesting is that there's reporting out there over the last couple of weeks, and it was rumored online, so a lot of us didn't give it too much credit because it wasn't corroborated yet, but that they had identified this person through the gate. That is the way the person walked. That technology's come a long way, never mind with the AI overlay. And that kind of a thing, maybe it's not enough to say I got probable cause, but it's a pointer. I'm looking to see if it's that or if it was some other mechanism, but this will
Very
be
interesting. We were making the comment with David Spunce reporting earlier this hour that it seems to me, and I don't want to speak for Dana, but you had to get a tip from someone.
Yeah.
Because the identity of this person is well conceived.
Yeah.
So maybe identify the hood, maybe the backpack, maybe there's something else on the...
Yeah, there was a lot done apparently with the sneakers. The sneakers were relatively rare as these things go, and so they did a deep dive. I just happened to notice about the sneakers and if they were sold in the Washington, D.C. area. And you can backtrack a lot. We had a case one time we found somebody in Hawaii relative to a backpack that he had bought. So you can do this kind of stuff if you have the investigatory muscle. Maybe it takes a long time. Maybe the sneakers end up being a break. We'll have to see. But fascinating that after 5 years, this is a big win. Let's see if it holds up. You got to make sure that you got the right person, innocent until proven guilty. But if they have nailed this 5 years on, after all the speculation and the political machinations, this is a big win for the FBI.
I love how Paul...
They talked about the gate, but the gate was associated to a woman, not to a man. And so the FBI is running away from what is the truth. And this is why the technocracy that we have, which by the way extends to X is not a free platform, right? I have seen everything that I've said been suppressed. I put up something, I kid you not. I put up a post that was seen by, I don't know, 27 million people. So I had like 7,000 people that followed me on X. And so it shot me up to 20,000. Now keep in mind, every time I've taken like snapshots of it. I've had to redo my X profile now 4 times. I've lost my privileges on X 4 times, not for anything that I did. One said that I was running multiple accounts. That was in November of 2020. I wasn't running multiple accounts at all. That was over 200,000 people gone. Right. Then I set up another one. I think it got to like 24 or 25,000 gone. I got another one I put up and it literally was gone the next day. And then this one, I think we're at 16,000. But I got all the way up to like 21,000 and boom, 5,000 would disappear in one day. And then it would go up by 500. And then I had 7,000 and boom, it went down to 14,000. So, and everybody says, oh, it's because of bots. That would make sense if a vast majority of the people that are associated with my account weren't, what are they called? Verified. Unless you have verified bots, maybe. But the thing that bothers me the most about the technocracy is that Steve Baker put this out there and he talked about the information related to who the J6 pipe bomber was. And he had her dead to rights and it was based on Gate. So now you have the Fox News acting stupid because they don't want to tell the whole story saying, maybe it's related to Gate and the fact that it just happened that they find the J6 bomber on the heels of Steve Baker releasing that this is the pipe bomber, which by the way, Kyle Seraphin, this is not a coincidence, but Kyle Seraphin was literally doing a stakeout on the house next door to the J6 pipe bomber that Steve Baker talked about. Literally. And on January 15th, I believe it was, of 2021, they were pulled off of it. Just pulled off, not going to talk about the J6 bomber anymore. This is how you know that all of them are in on it. And it's all corrupt. The whole thing is corrupt. It's corrupt. But here's a cut. The person videoed driving by the block of the suspect, Brian Cole, Street closed off by patrol cars and media showing up. Let's go ahead and play this. Cut 3.
Caesar Squad has confirmed the address. News crews starting to show up.
By the way, that looks like somewhere in Virginia, like Woodbridge area, Virginia somewhere. So here it comes. Well, Woodbridge. How did I know that? Yeah, that's where my brother died. Breaking news, the 5-year-old J6 pipe bomb investigation has made an arrest. They got him alive. I bet you the Democrats are really nervous. His name is Brian Cole. He's from Virginia. Virginia is blue. Okay. So here's what I'll show you. They had pictures of this. And they have lots of pictures of Brian Cole in this house up on a hill in Woodbridge, Virginia. I think it was Woodbridge. Pretty sure it was. But they've tied this 33-year-old to anarchist ideology in Woodbridge, Virginia. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of advice. Don't believe anything the government tells you. They said that a lone 20-year-old climbed up on a roof, got past Secret Service and all law enforcement with a gun, and shot at President Trump, killing one behind him, and shot his ear, barely missing him, and that guy acted alone. They also said that guy did not have any social platform, but we found out that was a lie too. FBI said that. FBI said they didn't have a social platform. See, everything that they said is not, it might be a lie. It is a lie. And he lives in a very affluent area in Virginia. And here is the Daily Mail, again, using the same pictures of the woman. Daily Mail says that the FBI has arrested Virginia anarchist suspect named Brian Cole in connection with several pipe bombs laid near Capitol Hill on the eve of January 6, 2021 riots. Cole, 30, was identified as a suspect on Thursday morning, as sources told MS Now, has been linked to support for anarchist ideologies. The suspect has been charged with laying explosive outside Democrat and Republican National Committee headquarters, which did not detonate. Images quickly circulated. Social media showing a heavy police presence descended on Cole's home in the quiet suburb of Woodbridge. Huh. Who do you think is going to end up with the $500,000? And by the way, I just want to point something out. There's a way that a man walks and there's a way that a woman walks. And if you look very closely at the pictures of the people inside of this, and you can look at the kind of what the sweatshirt is and how they're walking, that is not a man. That is a woman. 100% that is a woman. That is a woman. If you look at any of the videos, it is a woman. It is not a man that is walking. So again, another one bites the dust where they'll, take someone that is probably closely related because of the area that they're in, closely related to, I don't know, some sort of CIA, some sort of intelligence community. They'll pay them a little bit of money, make them disappear from a jail cell. They'll never arrive. You scrape from the deal, given a new identity. Yeah, it's all kabuki theater. It just never ends. It just never ends. I think that's all we have today, right? Is that it? Did I miss anything else? I don't think I did. Nope, I do. I'm going to it. Oh, yeah. We spelled Priscilla wrong, by the way. But go ahead and put it up if you would, please. So, Coffee Anderson's my friend. He has a song called Mr. Red, White, and Blue. You guys have probably heard it a billion times. It's been played over a billion times. And I talked to Coffee this morning for quite some time. And Priscilla, his wife, passed away of cancer on Tuesday. I sent him a text message. I'm not going to share the text messages from you, but I just told him that, hey, look, we're praying for you. He's got I talked to him today because I wanted him to know that we can support him. It was a 7-year battle that him and Priscilla went through. And some of you know, because I had a birthday party last year, and Coffee came out and did an event where he basically sang at my birthday party. We had a bunch of people out there. It was pretty awesome, actually. And 7-year battle, and it resulted in them getting divorced just a little while ago. And but he was very close with Priscilla, and there was this friction that existed because he was healthy and she wasn't. And a 7-year battle, it takes its toll on your relationship, and it changes you. Going through cancers and chemos changes you. But they both loved the Lord, and they were both amazing people. Priscilla was an amazing dancer, and Coffee is an amazing singer, and they have beautiful children. But TMZ and a couple of other outlets decided to attack Coffee, attack him in her death. Now nobody knows, the things that you go through when you're fighting for your spouse and the ups and downs, and you're trying hard to, keep your wife alive, and you have these beautiful children. You still have to have a living, and then you have people in the neighborhood that decide that and so there's just a lot going on. And so I do want to say that, Priscilla was an amazing person, but Coffee is an amazing, amazing person. And, shame on TMZ and the media for doing what they do in a moment of mourning, piling on to Coffee. So I just want to say that he's not a reflection of what they want to make him out to be, where they're defaming him publicly. And we're going to end this show with a tribute by playing his song, Mr. Red, White, and Blue, but also praying for him and his children. And, if you could just keep him in your prayers as well, and his children in his prayers. It's a dark day when you wake up and you not only are fighting the idea that you have to bury the woman you love that you went through a divorce with, because it was just, but you spent the last, I can't even, I don't want to, it's not my story to tell, but I will tell you this: Coffee is an amazing person. Priscilla is an amazing person. And, just pray for them. And we know Priscilla is not in pain anymore. She's not going through anything anymore. She's with Jesus, and, she's not having to go through any of the treatment she was going through before, and she handled it. And she battled all the way to the very end. So with that said, let's pray for Coffee and the children, and and just Priscilla, just rest in peace. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for having Vince on. Thank you for this, the amazing insights that he gives us here, and for the time that he spends giving us those insights. Thank you, Father, for Peter Ticktin. Thank you for the unselfish desire to serve. Same unselfish desire that President Trump has, the same unselfish desire that Patrick Byrne has, same unselfish desire that so many have done and sacrificed in order to serve you, Father, and to serve the people in this great country. And thank you for the time that I was able to have with him. And thank you for the sacrifice that Tina has made, and for the sacrifice that the J6ers have made to suffer through this over the last 5 years. We know, Father, that in the end we win, but we're just going through this process where it takes a little bit out of us every single day. And so we just ask you to give us the ability to kind of see through that and to press on whatever mechanisms that we need to press on, or do whatever we need to do in order to fulfill bringing you back and restoring you to our communities, our country, and just the very way of life. And we know, Father, that you can restore anything, and that you can move mountains. But we also know that we have an obligation to follow you and to be faithful to whatever it is that you want us to do individually in order to serve and to right the wrongs that have been put before us. So help us, Father, that we may maintain courage. We may stand up for what is right. We may do the things that are necessary in order to restore. Restore Tina Peters, restore our country, restore dignity to how we have elections. Father, I just ask you to put a special blessing over President Trump, that he may be swift in his actions and his reactions, that he may be fully protected and have your armor of God over him at all times. We ask you, Father, to expose those people that would do harm to President Trump, and that they may be pulled out of any apparatus that would give them the ability to have a voice in what direction our country goes. Father, we know what we can see with Todd Blanche and with Pam Bondi, and we hope it's not true. We also recognize that we must act decisively in order to save our nation and to restore things that need to be restored, the ethics and integrity that we have in our country. We know that it's rotted out with judges and lawyers, and the apparatuses are just filthy with an evil that you can just smell, see, and feel and touch. So Father, I just ask you to give us the tools that we may be able to rid ourselves of that evil. Lastly, Father, I feel for my friend, Coffee Anderson. And I ask you, Father, to lift the burdens off his heart. I ask you to be with him and his children and their family. Comfort them. And we know that Priscilla is with you, and Father, we are grateful she is with you. She is no longer in any pain. We ask you to shroud them from the hateful things that are being said that aren't true, the stories that are written so they can get clicks, and the things that are being done to a great man and his children. We ask you, Father, to give him the ability to have vision, focus for his children, and allow them to grow together while respecting and honoring the memory of their mother. We ask these things, Father, humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. Big day today, huh? Lots going on today. All right, guys, go ahead and hit the up button, and just hopping in. So she died of cancer. She had colon cancer, and they gave her 2 years to live, and she lived 7 years. She had a 7-year battle, cancer. It's a lot. I want to thank you all for all the work that you've done. I want to thank you for just being the ambassadors of truth and spreading and listening to me for all these years and supporting me. More importantly, in supporting me. I got to tell you, I don't really care what the media says, because they don't matter. What matters is that those people that have intelligence can look at the facts as for what they are. Kind of like what Peter said about Eric. Oh, Eric, I know Eric really well. I mean, the information, he's seen the information, and he's a very measured individual. And here I am 5 years later screaming from the highest mountain that we need to look at this. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We do. We absolutely do. So we are a family. Thanks, Chris. How's your job going, by the way, Chris? Tell me how your job's going. We're gonna end this with a tribute to Coffee, but I want to be able to say thank you to all of you, and God bless you all, and have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey. From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana, to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born.